Hello, YouTube! My name is Tanis Fugit, and I am here to start a playthrough of Factorio, primarily because I haven't really been able to find time to do it on stream, which is where I really want to do it. But we're going to give it a shot here on YouTube, just to give me an opportunity to really play through it. This is going to be very similar to something you'll see on my channel uh, and on my stream that I call the Finish Line. The Finish Line is a series where I play through games that I've never successfully completed before in an attempt to, use the stream, use the fact that I have people watching and cheering me on as a way to encourage me to finish games that otherwise I haven't been able to put a lot of time into, because I'm historically very bad at that kind of thing. I don't finish games. I like to start up a game, I'll put a little bit of time into it, and then I get distracted by some next shiny thing. Well, I like the idea of using my stream and my YouTube channel as a way to fix that, as a way to give me an incentive to actually really, really get through these games. And Factorio is one of those games that I've sunk a lot of time into, a lot of time across many different playthroughs that have never really been able to, make work in a great way, in a way that like I've been able to complete a game. Also, I am on Reddit, I'm seeing tons and tons of the mods, the crazy mods that are out there, space exploration, industrial revolution, all of these mods that are out there that I'm really excited about, that I'd love to get my hands on and try and delve into the logic of. But without having completed the game first, I feel like that's not really a great idea. So I want to complete an actual regular vanilla run through the game. That's what we're going to try and do here. Okay? And if you're interested in coming along with me on this journey, feel free to, do all the YouTube stuff, like and subscribe. I'm not a YouTuber, I'm a streamer, so I don't really know how to talk about this sort of stuff. I know it's cringe. So, I mean, if you guys are interested, just let me know about it, okay? Okay. So we're going to do a just regular vanilla run of the game. I'm going to show you the mods that I'm using, which are basically no mods. I mean, I say that. Some people might already say that some of these mods aren't very fun, especially the Fill For Me mod. But Fill For Me is, I don't like the in-game combat, the way that it works, when it comes to marching out and destroying the biter nests and stuff like that, especially in the early game. It's just so much micromanaging to like put a line of turrets down, fill each one individually because you have to take that time to set it up before you can move forward, draw them back into the line, and all that stuff like that. I find that to be somewhat tedious and not what the game is about, which is about building the big factory and filling, handling the logistics troubles and stuff like that. So Fill For Me helps me, like, once I feel like I'm ready to do it, I can wipe out a biter base very quickly by just showing up, plopping down a bunch of turrets, and they're automatically filled with bullets. So they start firing immediately. It does technically trivialize the combat in a bit, to a degree, but I'm I think that's an acceptable trade-off for me. Other than that, squeak through just makes it so is that basically pipes don't block me. I mean, it works on things like solar panels, steam engines, drills, stuff like that. Really, those have never been a problem for me. It's pipes. Getting through pipe systems once you start getting fluids set up is so frustrating to me. So I like the option for the squeak through mod to let me just move through my own base without trouble. Reach is just a good quality of life. I understand the idea that you should be moving around your base and stuff like that to interact with your stuff, but I like the ability to just zoom out, interact with what's there, and move forward. Disco Science is literally just because it's pretty. I've actually never used it before, but it looks pretty, so we're going to see how it looks. I've legitimately never used it before. And then Vehicle Snap is just for controlling your vehicle. I've also never used Vehicle Snap before this run, so we're going to see how nice that is. That's it. That's the whole mod. No gameplay changes, no nothing. I'm not running any of the overhaul mods. I'm not doing anything like that, so that's it. Here's what we're going to do. I obviously already have a save that started, but we're not going to continue with that. We're going to start fresh on here. I'm going to hit single player. We're going to hit new game. And for me, well, we're going to go into free play. some of these scenarios are pretty fun, but we're just going to do a free play map. And we are going to run a rail world. The reason I run rail world is because it has the setting ticked on where once you destroy bases, they don't come back. The biters, they don't come back. Once you wipe them out, you don't got to worry about them anymore. This is offset by the fact that you have to expand much further across the map because the frequency, the amount of patches that exist of the resources is much less. So once you clear out an area, you have to go really far away in order to get to the next patch of resources, which incentivizes you building train systems, big, extensive train networks. So you're constantly having to move into new areas. Well, not constantly, but once you get to a certain point in the game, you're having to move into new areas. You're having to engage with the biters. So at least to some degree, like, you have to be strategic about where and how you move. So, yeah, enemy expansion is turned off. They don't ever do anything like that. I'm going to randomize the seed a couple times. That one looks fine to me. You can adjust mod settings here. I don't really have anything that I want to do. Oh, you can preview the map. That's interesting. I didn't even know you could do that. Okay, here we go. We're going to jump in. Okay. So we have crash landed. Oh no, what are we going to do? Well, we are thankfully... Oh, I didn't realize it was going to give me any of that. So we are an engineer. That is our primary skill set. And as a result, we are going to build a factory and we're going to explore and exploit this world that we have found ourselves on. We're going to take all of its natural resources and we're going to build us a rocket to get off of this planet. That's the idea. Of course, it's not quite that easy because once we do build a rocket, by that point we will have been so well integrated into the world here that we don't necessarily want to leave. And by that point, we will just want to continue building the factory and completing our scientific endeavors. So let's take a look at the map. A fair amount of... Actually, that's not a lot of early. It's a big patch, but it's very lightly... it's a big physical patch. That's actually a big problem, because it's big physically, but it doesn't actually have a lot of ore in it, which means that I have to create a lot of miners, but each individual miner isn't actually going to return a lot. So that's a bit unfortunate. There's a very small stone here, but thankfully there's a much denser one down here, so we'll be good for stone for a good chunk of the game. That's a fair amount of coal, and that's actually it's a pretty good amount of coal, and that's an okay amount of copper. We've got a base right here, pretty, a moderately sized base here, a couple of randos down here, like one sort of structure over here. Not the worst map. Actually, these are very physically close to each other, so I actually like this quite a bit. This is a great start. This is a fine map to start out on. So what are we going to do first? It's actually been a little while since I've played this game, so excuse me if I like need a moment to like remember what the heck we're actually doing here. So I'm going to set down first a drill. Here, and we're going to put down a furnace here, and we're going to get that put in. And while that's happening, so our first step in the early parts of this game, I'm going to start doing it right here, I think. Our first steps in the early part of this game is that we have no automation. We've got no machines. We've got a handful of machines that we have in our pocket, but that's about it. What are we actually trying to do? Well, we need to automate our escape, and the way that we're going to do that is by digging up this ore. Right now we're doing it by hand. And why are we digging up this ore? Because we're going to take it over to that smelter we just put down. We're going to stick it in the smelter. And the smelter is going to make it happen. Now, obviously the drill itself also needs coal to burn in order to put it in. So this is the start of the game. It's pretty slow. Start of the game is always pretty slow, and I'm not very efficient at it. You will immediately come to note that I am not the best at the early game. I haven't done it. I've done it a few times now, but I haven't looked into how to automate it or specialize it or anything like that. So I'm just going to kind of go at it. This sort of pre-automation part of the game. It's going to be a little slow, but it is what it is. So I played this game for the first time a long time ago. I don't actually remember who it was that first turned me onto the game, but I do remember it was quite some time ago. And I've seen it change quite a bit over the years, and I've never been able to quite replicate other people's success at it, unfortunately. Especially in the early game. But we're going to have some fun. Especially once we get into automation. And really, it's the growth. It's the way that the gameplay changes on a moment-to-moment basis, because you start with this sort of very manual, like I'm pulling ore out of the ground, I'm just digging up iron. I have one drill that's picking up coal, and that one drill is the entire backbone, right? Because this is working faster and better than I am. And so it's like the backbone of all this. So, and the one furnace that's attached to this one drill. But as you notice, now I've got a bunch of iron plates, and with those iron plates, we can start doing other things. So I do need more stone to make more furnaces. So we will actually go over to the stone now that we've mined up a bunch of iron, and we have a bunch of coal being picked up in order to turn that iron into plates that I can use to build stuff. I can spend this time digging up some stone, which I can stack nicely into the furnaces that we're going to use. And I'm going to make probably a bunch of, because you actually need a stone furnace in order to build a mining drill. So we need more furnaces than we need actual drills. I'm going to go in for enough to make 4 right away. Boom. So there's 20. We're going to make 4 of these furnaces. You see, I'm making them right in my hand. Eventually, we'll be making everything in a big factory. But right now, I'm making everything by hand. And with 4 furnaces, we're going to make 4 burner drills. And the reason why we're making 4 burner drills is going to become apparent in just a second here. We're going to pick all this stuff up right now. Because now that we've made these drills, here's what we're going to do. We're going to find a nice little corner of... Let's do it like here, I think. Find a nice little corner. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And all these guys are going to feed into each other. So these will eventually fill up with coal. And this will be like an infinite... I mean, I say infinite. It's just basically going to be its own production of coal. So then I'm going to take that one drill... And I'm going to bring it up here. And I'm going to put, boom, you into it. We're going to stick, actually, we're going to fill you up with that. And except for, no, you needed some as well. We're going to take some out of you. We're going to put it into you. There we go. Okay. So now this is going to be a source of iron with me not even having to look at it. And I can come over here and I can like control click these guys to pick up all the coal that are in them, and I can eventually come back down here and just drop more of this off, right? Like that. Okay. In the meantime, I'm going to go dig up some more stone, because we need even more stone. I'm going to probably pull... like maybe 30, I think, stone is probably going to be the correct amount to pull. And the reason I say that is because that'll get me 6 more furnaces, which I can turn into some amount of drills, and some I could just leave as furnaces, right? The progression in this game is insane because it goes on this sort of ramp, right? Where it starts off really low and it ramps up really slowly, and then at a certain point you hit this inflection point and it is ramping up even faster than you can keep your eye on. And the amount of resources you're spending and using just go up. It drastic go up to, if you're not a wrestling fan, that might not make any sense to you. And even if you are a wrestling fan, you'll recognize that I did it backwards. But whatever. It's what I said. It should drastic go up. Okay. Like, okay, so I actually need pipes which are made from, actually just made from iron. Okay. So what is this now? This is all the different stuff that we can make, right? We can make chests, we can make transporter belts, inserters. This is all part of the automation. These are all the different machines that we can make, right? So the pumps, the boilers, and the steam engines are the most important things for getting electricity. We don't have any electricity right now. Everything is being done manually. We're literally just like sticking raw iron ore into a furnace, which we're heating up with coal, and it's melting it into plates, right? It's all no electricity. Nothing's being automated yet. So how do we start the automation process? Well, we start it with this offshore pump, and we pump water out of, there's a little up here, there's a little bit of water. We'll pump water out. We'll send it into these boilers, which are going to use more of the coal to burn it, turn it into steam. We're going to pump that steam into the steam engines. The steam engines are going to turn the turbines. The turbines are going to create electricity, and that's how we're going to start automating stuff. And here's our lab, which we're going to make science packs to go into. Once we've got a couple of other drills here, we're going to pop them down over here on the copper, right? And again, this is we're gonna like try and feed these with as much of this coal as possible. We only put a couple of pieces in it. The fill for me fills these drills and furnaces with coal, but only a couple pieces when I put them down in the first place. So I've got to keep my eye on it and make sure they don't like burn out. This is the only set that's not going to burn out because they're constantly feeding coal into each other. But, oh, this, by the way, this is a big rock. We can get a fair amount of stone right off this. Another thing we can do is we chop down some of these trees because we are going to need the wood. And also we might as well open up the space in between our different resource patches. Because eventually we'll need to be like moving raw coal. Or we'll eventually need to be doing something like, you know, moving raw copper up, you know, into places where they're being smelted, stuff like that. So we might as well open up some of the space in between these resource nodes a little bit. And we're going to need the wood for a few things later on anyway. Now we have some copper being made. We have some iron being made. That's all that we need to really get things going. Really get things started here. By the way, there are these like tips down here that like to pop up. I think I can... I don't actually know how to get rid of this page. Oh, I mark it as red there. I've not actually done this, so like... There we go. Got it all done. Done. With that, that's pretty much all the things that we need to get a bunch of stuff started here. So I'm actually going to make more stone furnaces. And I guess the first thing to really do is to just start to expand some things, right? So instead of just having one drill making iron, we instead can have like 3 making iron. Oh, I'm there. I was like, what the heck is the problem with that? I was trying to figure that out, and I couldn't. You'll also notice that some of my menus just pop up like that because I'm not the best at remembering the controls. I'm playing a couple different games through right now between the Twitch channel and here on YouTube, so I'm forgetting some of the buttons that open up which menus. So now we're just expanding, right? We've got a bunch of coal being made. We've got a bunch of iron being made. We've got a bunch of copper being made. I kind of forgot that I turned on the reach mod, so you might see me like run way further than I actually need to run for some of this stuff. So the first thing we're going to make is we're going to make a couple of labs. What are the labs for? The labs are for us to increase our research. Our research is Well, it's a massive tree. See, there's all of this stuff on the left here that you can research all the way up to like your highest level science packs, your like the rocket silo, which you need to actually launch your rocket to win the game. Um, all sorts of high level effects, power armor, artillery to fight the biters. But all the way up here is the very basic stuff that we start out with, and these are going to be how we start actually playing the game, right? So we're going to start by researching automation, I think, is usually, well, sometimes logistics, but no, we're going to start with automation. We're going to hit start research. Now, there's nothing that our research can do right now because we don't have any labs yet. You'll note that we're creating these labs by hand, which means we're creating a bunch of... I actually didn't realize transport belts. Did they change the recipe for labs? Anyway, the labs require a lot of resources to make, and those resources themselves require intermediate resources. So in order to create the electronic circuits, we need to turn copper plate into copper cable, right? And we combine that copper cable with the iron plate in order to make the circuits, right? In order to make transport belts, we need to turn iron plates into iron gear wheels. Those gear wheels, in turn, get combined with other plates in order to make the transport belts. And all those things go together to make the lab. Now, of course, I forgot that the lab needs electricity, so we're actually going to do electricity first because I'm a very silly, silly, silly man, and I forgot the lab's actually going to need electricity. So boom, 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 we're going to grab more iron. We're going to make one offshore pump. We're going to make 2 boilers. We're going to make... Or is it 1 boiler, 2... It's 1 boiler makes 2 steam engines, so we actually don't need a second boiler, but that's fine. And then we're going to make a bunch of pipes. We'll do 5 just to start. Now, here's how we're going to do electricity, and I kind of talked about it just a second ago, but here's how electricity is going to go. I'm going to start over here. And by the way, you can add this stuff to, like, your bar down here, so I can go, like... Now these are the, like, I like to put, like, logistics items up here. So things like pipes. And then over here, things like inserters and power, things that are like, and then down here, like machines I'm currently working on. So assemblers will tend to go down here, there things like that. So we're going to take our offshore pump and we're going to stick it, no, we're going to stick it here. And that's going to pump water out of here, and it's going to send it into a pipe. And then we are going to take a boiler. We're going to attach the boiler. Hold on, I need to think about this for a second. This is the way this works, right? Yeah, okay. Stick it into a boiler, and then the boiler attaches to these engines. And then we need to make these small electric poles. This is where we needed the wood for. These take coal, by the way. So again, I have to like make sure that or sorry, these take coal. The boiler takes coal. So I gotta make sure that I fill this up. So the pump pumps water into the boiler. The boiler burns coal to turn it into steam. It pumps that steam down into the steam engines. The engines burn that steam, use that steam pressure to turn turbines and thus create electricity. Now I'm just going to click and drag. Well, for now, actually, I think what I'm going to do is, well, yeah, we'll start by doing this. We're going to click and drag, and I'm going to drag these power poles back towards what we're already working on, right? Might as well keep everything sort of centralized, right? So over here now, I'm going to put down these labs. Ta-da! And now they're attached to power, right? As long as they're inside the blue circle, the blue square, they're going to have power. So I can pump in any number of these things, these science packs, but you'll note that I can only create, if I go into my like creation here, you'll see that I can only create the red ones, right? And if I hit science here, you'll see that these basic ones all just require the red science, right? And in fact, in order to even make the higher sciences, you need to unlock them. You need to research them. So before I can even start making green science, I need to unlock it. Right. So these are made off of iron gear wheels and copper plates. So I need iron and copper in my inventory in order to make them. So we're going to go down here. We're going to realize that my stuff is running out of gas. Grab a little bit more coal. We're going to grab a little bit more. Actually, we're going to start making like 15 of these in hand. So these are slow to make. These are incredibly slow to make. You do not want to make these things in your hand more than you absolutely have to. There's also an important achievement in this game called Lazy Bastard? Is that what it's called? I'm confusing it with the Hollow Cure achievement. I apologize. I believe it's called Lazy Bastard. And you are supposed to not make more than I think 120 items in your hand. And that's important because there's a mathematical minimum of the amount of stuff that you have to make in hand in order to get automation started. And you're allowed to do that mathematical minimum plus or minus plus 3. Right? That's all you get. And if you make a mistake, oh, I love the glowing. Look at that. That's the mod. And it changes the glowing effect in the sign. Ah, that's so pretty. That's going to look so pretty once I'm doing multiple colors. I'm so ready for that. That's so cool. By the way, I think I'm going to change where I am in this shot. We're at the end of the first episode here, so I'm probably going to finish things off here before too long. And of course, now is the perfect time for me to realize that I'm not in a good spot. So I'm going to put myself over here. In future episodes, you will see me over here, I promise. So we're going to resume. We're going to let this count out. Basically, I'm going to run around. I'm going to keep... I was just thinking that I was probably out of fuel in some of these items. So we're going to go ahead and refuel some of these things up. I'm going to stick more of these sciences in here because as it burns them up in order to pump this bar up. You see, we're moving. We're almost done with automation. You are out of fuel now. This game is going to start changing quite a bit once we hit this. So, automation has finished. And you'll note here that it tells you sort of what it needs. It needs... it's going to spend one of these every 10 seconds, and it needs to do that 10 times, right? If we scroll down to some of these bigger ones, like some of these later game ones, you'll see that it needs to burn all 5 of these, and it takes 30 seconds to do so, and it needs 300 of them in order to complete this one that I just grabbed here, right? So it gets out of control very quickly. It's 30 times the amount of resources needed, well, times 5 on top of that. So and each one of these is much harder to make than the last. And it takes 3 times per each round to be completed. You can see it starts to grow out of control. Thankfully, there are things that there are research that allows the lab to consume these faster. So it won't take a full 30 seconds. And there's lots of other ways to increase your production speed and stuff like that. That's what this game is all about. So now we're going to, I think the next thing we're going to do, usually I do is logistics. Because logistics opens up the underground belts and the belt splitters, which are important for starting to figure out how to take items from one place to another. We're going to start research on that. You see this one takes 15 seconds for each one to be consumed, and we need 20 of them. Immediately the labs are back to work, chewing up the last of what we gave it, but I think I only made 15, so they're not actually going to get very far. So now that we have automation, though, you'll see that we now have access to an assembly machine and long-handled inserters. These inserters are needed to move stuff into the assembly machine. The assembly machine will make stuff automatically. So that is what we're going to start talking about in episode 2 when we start getting into automation. Thank you, guys. Thank you for stopping in the Fugitive Theater. Ochtanis. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.